friends, me again, flying through today. This is just a quick bollocking, and it's right to reply, which I don't always abide by. If somebody wants a right to reply, if I don't want to hear them, you know, there's almost 8 billion people on this planet. Why would I let one upset me? But, you know, we do. So this is just a quick one to address Paula Mann, also known as Cliff and probably of a different name, Sharon, Gale, my nemesis, the thorn in my side, and you know, who I can't completely throw overboard. I do think Sharon, at the very least, as a public figure with a public platform, and Sean Atwood and Richard, you know, Richie Allen, blah blah, you are a public figure, and based on my research, you are guilty at the very least, possibly, probably, of covering up a murder. And I've shown my evidence to make that conclusion as you know, public commentary and opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Paula Mann, I had planned to do another promo of your channel because you're very brave in standing against Brian Harvey, who has a considerable fan base and can cause considerable problems with trolling backlash. And I was about to say, you know, I've got some evidence of flip-flopping extraordinaire and other things from fellow researchers, including the highlighted commenter. And I was going to just put my little bits of evidence up and refer people to your channel, because I don't want to be a coward and not raise questions around Brian Harvey because of the backlash. But then you go, then I find you on Sharon Gale's live, and it was an exquisite, it actually was a very moving live stream. Sharon was pissed, and the first, I don't know how long, was just a diatribe of cursing at me, Brussels sprout head, see you next Tuesday, blah, blah. But the way you interacted with her was beautiful. It was a bit like some of the conversations with Christy. And by the way, Christy, and with the Irish pronunciation, I think you followed me on my original Facebook for years. And so it was one of those exquisite connections, but you called me a stalker. And all I've ever done with Sharon Gale, aka Latta Swiston, and no, Swiston's not her maiden name. Further research has shown that not to be true, but that's not the point. You called me a stalker along with others. I don't know, Brian Garish, who I've interacted with very little. I only ever make response videos to extreme abuse from Sharon Gale, Latta Swiston, maiden name unknown. And yet you yourself, Paula Mann, admit you don't studiously follow channels, but you felt at liberty to declare that I'm part of the Brian Garish, Bill Maloney, Brian Harvey, etc. psyop, and that's not true. And you annoyed me saying that. The interaction between you and Sharon was beautiful. I don't know if you ended up in a panic attack or throwing up. I do know, based on history, you know, Sharon tried to reel you in a couple of times as potential boyfriend by saying, oh, you and I are the same age, aren't we? You and I are the same age, aren't we? And based on history, given that you're almost 60, almost homeless, and, you know, with a vast amount of issues, including targeting for decades, and I would suggest MK Ultra victim, H.M.P. Grendon, you know, about to be homeless again, declared a psychopath and then retracted as declared a psychopath. I would imagine she'll pretty much move on. So even though your interaction was beautiful, you know, don't hold too much stock in that. I think you're one of the most important voices on YouTube, and I believe you. And the fact that it was a member of the Royal Irish Regiment that set you up in Brixton, with which I'm very familiar. I have a sister still living in Mail Road. And I actually went into Brixton police station and offered them, I was still in the cult of EST, the Forum Landmark Institute, not known as cult. And I went in and offered to facilitate training at Hendon for Brixton, you know, for like recruits, because there was this crazy thing at the time where there'd been a description released of a black man with a scar on his face as a suspect in a crime, and every black man within the vicinity of Brixton was getting picked up and accused. And I'd come across this thing that, you know, if people have a fear of a different race, they have a blinders over their eyes and they don't see. So anyway, I went into Brixton police station and I said, this was before I reported paedophilia in my own life, paedophile rings in the military. But before that, I'd gone into Brixton police and said, look, you know, would you be interested in communication workshops for your recruits? Because there's a bit of racism going on here in Brixton, with every black man with a scar on his face getting picked up for an alleged crime. And to my amazement, they said absolutely, and they referred my recommendation to H.M.P, to not H.M.P, like to Grendon, to where, no, not Grendon, to where they train police recruits. I'm getting Grendon mixed up because of the amazing testimony you've given, Paula Mann, about H.M.P Grendon and the projects that they were running there and have run probably on your life ever since you left there. And I will summarize again, corrected. Paula Mann, which is just a name, but this person was originally sexually abused, not raped, as I was corrected, but sexually abused by BBC newscaster Kenneth Kendall in a public toilet in Ealing when he was about 8 or 9 years old. He then went on to be groomed and sodomized by somebody in the music industry who took him to an apartment in Kensington and Chelsea, which the police said, oh, sorry, we can't investigate. We'd be breaching data to find out who owns that apartment. He's got an amazing story, and I will reference his YouTube channel, but I'm annoyed with you for going on with Sharon Gale and despite holding your own beautifully, agreeing I was a stalker along with Bill Maloney and Brian Gersh. Shut up. I only ever respond to Sharon Gale when she, if you just want to know what she does, listen to the first 20 minutes, half an hour of See You Next Tuesday, Brussels sprout head. I have Bell's palsy, which recurs if I'm under the weather. It's from a dental injury where the hygienist injected me and broke and pierced a muscle. So yeah, I'm 64, Sharon. Paula Mann's nearly 60, so probably won't fit your description. But you know, on some level, I think it would be lovely because he handled you beautifully and you responded beautifully. Who else do I need to bollock? There's probably details I could, you know, stop it. Thank you to Kerry Duff for asking me directly a question in the comments to which I've responded in full. I haven't seen those questions before. I'm very good at keeping up with my comments lately, so I don't know where you posted them, but I've answered your comment and it's left me a bit triggered, but I love people coming and saying, what's the story, you know? So thanks, Kerry Duff. And the other person I have to briefly bollock I was a bit naughty. I did go on Drogyne's live where she had Steve Ray, but she also had Heather, the American who claims ownership of the UK and operates multiple soccer accounts. And don't forget, I've tracked very closely the Daddygate fiasco with Sean Atwood and the Decca Heggie fiasco. And I know. So anyway, I went in Anne's live chat and I just was a bit blurty, a bit ADHD. And when I saw it was that Heather one, I was like, oh, scraping the barrel, what are you doing? And I said a few more things. And then Anne's like, oh, come on my live and make cheap shots. So she gave me a bollocking live at intersex Drogyne, you know. Anyway, gave me a bollocking live and said, oh, I could say something about you and Jimmy Savile and many other things I could say about you. Well, I've answered the Jimmy Savile chestnut over and over again, Anne, Terry. My sister and I raised thousands for Stoke Mandeville Hospital in 1980, and Jimmy Savile was the recipient of the check of the thousands we raised. We did a 125 miles, 5 days sponsored horse ride. I rode my horse home from university. And that's the only time that I have a conscious memory of meeting Jimmy Savile at Stoke Mandeville whilst presenting a check. It was like 3 minutes, come on. And yes, when he died, I was still a bit ignorant, even though he creeped me out at this check presentation. And I'd heard stories about him at Champney's health spa. But the only time I have a conscious memory of meeting Jimmy Savile was then, for about 3 minutes, for a photo op at Stoke Mandeville, when my father, my mum's not in that photo, is she? Yes, she is, I think. And my sister that I did the sponsored ride with, and my baby sister, gave this check to Jimmy Savile, and I posted that when he died, R.I.P. Jimmy Savile, and the trolls have just thought they've died and gone to heaven by finding that. So cheap shot, Anne. And anything else, do a Kerry Duff, just ask me. I challenged you, and I said, let's do a live. Ask me anything, no problem. You haven't responded to that. You've just asked for my Queen Anne chair. But I love it too much to give it to you. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's my quick bollocking. I've got a live stream later with Andy Devine with an Anchor Hill update. What else? Yeah, what else? There's always more, but lots of love. And you know, like many people, like I said, I'll come back to base. Brian Harvey, yes, I still need to just bring the little bits, myself and the highlighted commenter, have some research to bring to the table, and need to get over the fear of the Brian Harvey fan club backlash. But ask questions, the same as I invite people, Kerry Duff, Drogyne, anybody, Sharon, Gale, ask before you make up a theory in your head, you know. So that's it. Yeah, I'll get on and do some real work now, as opposed to YouTube, right to reply. Bye. Yeah, let's just end this.